They say the millennial generation is privileged. We were raised during the popular transition from the tangible to electronic, reading books to watching movies. This divide between what was shown and what is told. Well, what if there was a way we could have both? At least in poetry, that's becoming a reality called video or motion poems. To get better insight on the topic, I interviewed Dr. Poach, one of the pioneers who brought this dynamic concept to Texas Tech.
When did you first learn about video poems, and what draws you to the concept?
Probably in the 1980s, just watching music videos on MTV, which I think are the first video poems. Now, they're set to music, but certainly I grew up in high school seeing the emergence of MTV, and it changed everything. I mean, oftentimes video poems use music in the background as well, so they're not strictly just language, that there is still music in there sometimes. And I would say probably in a lot of them, in the ones that I've made with my nephew Alex, and other ones that I'm working on with other people, there's been music in them. Obviously Todd Boss's work on the video poem in the past 6 years has brought it into sort of a more formal kind of structure, where it's a thing people are doing on a regular basis. Although not, I think this collaboration that we're doing with the class is the first of its kind. So.
In order to achieve this, there needed to be a marriage between poets, filmmakers, and their creative processes to make one dynamic product. This setup had to be approached multiple ways to figure out which processes were most efficient.
In respect to the class's setup, what's the process you have your students take in making these videos?
Well, it's been a little scattered, I have to say. I mean, what we wanted to do was to start with the students writing poems and then handing them to the visual artist to then turn them into videos. That was our first step. And then we switched it where the visual artist provided video work, or at least a sketch, like storyboards, that the poet could then write a poem to. And then they worked on finishing it out. And then the third process was take it whichever way is most successful for the different groups, and we switched partners.
The class didn't have very many restrictions other than time. Each student was encouraged to make their own creative choices as long as they worked together. However, the working together part created unanticipated challenges.
There's a lot of different things, variables, that we just can't even calculate with schedules, students getting together, the way it keeps getting transformed, the video, the poem. You have to keep matching these things up. So, students are going back and forth, and some of them not being very happy about that they have to change this.
Poach went on to explain how it was hard for the poets and the filmmakers to get on the same page. Sometimes egos got in the way.
Very specific expectations that do not change.
Yes,
Right.
and have students who are really wonderful, kind
Be
people.
flexible. How about that? It's
Versus
also
horrible
humble.
people.
Sometimes creative processes were disrupted due to crunch timelines.
Normally we start with something positive when we're workshopping, but we have not enough time, so
And sometimes impromptu pep talks were necessary to decrease tension.
Sometimes it may not as smooth as we expected, right? So that's how we learn. We share disagreements, we share different perspective, looking at the things, and to help us to grow. Okay.
In other words,
well, it's complicated, but it's been an organic process throughout the semester because there are a lot of things that we ran into that we didn't know would be problems.
But as Dr. Poach explains, sometimes problems aren't always a bad thing.
A lot of stuff that's happened behind the scenes that I don't even know about. But I think maybe that's been a really good thing because students have had to be responsible on their own to make this happen outside of class.
With agency comes responsibility, and although obstacles of change do occur, both parties have to come together and create a cohesive narrative that will benefit them both. And with their final grades at stake, I'm excited to say the students found that compromise and created their final products. In this narrative, all roads finally ended in success at the Alamo Drafthouse Theater.